Did you get
No, this is good. I didn't knock it.
No.
Who's actually turning vegetarian, just out of curiosity? Who's actually turning vegetarian or thought about vegetarian right now?
Oh, I am.
Oh, nobody. Oh, good. All right.
I am.
Or is a vegetarian? Yeah? Vegetarians in the room? Anyone who's like me, turning vegetarian? Part-time veggie?
Like you.
Yeah? So, man's inspiration.
Let me tell you, you should try it, okay? They've got some great alternatives.
But
And it doesn't taste bad.
Sorry, excuse me. Do you add any supplements to that, like in terms of nutritional?
No. They've got
vitamins.
The market has gone right out the roof. Like, they've got chicken nuggets, right? So let's just give you an example. They've got vegan chicken nuggets. They're plant-based.
Yeah.
And I tried them, and I was very skeptical. I was like, no way can they be the same as McDonald's. No way. Let me tell you, it was like 1% away from a McDonald's chicken nugget. And when I ate that, and I knew I was eating a plant, I was like, that's the game changer.
Exactly, because
Right?
this is a market that they don't have available, and then you want to build onto that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Check out Mr. Singh's. We're digressing. It's HMO. Seriously, there's a vegetarian place called Mr. Singh's. Just check it out. Just say it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right, so we bring it back to...
Bring it back. You say, right? You ask the question.
Cool. Okay, so obviously, you guys, if you've got questions, start thinking about them, write them down. We'll come out to you. I just want to kick off. So thanks very much, Ash.
Right.
Some great information. Who enjoyed Ash's presentation?
Thank you very much.
Great. You get a real sense of the effort he puts in and takes care about housing people, which is a really good thing. And Cam, I know you have the same ethos as well. In terms of HMOs, you've got sizable portfolio of HMOs as well, Cam. What do you think the key part is to creating a good household? So like a tip for creating a good household over HMO?
Creating a good household, I would say the less people there are, the better it is. Actually, to be fair. I've tried various different, over my time, I've tried various different ones. I've tried, I'm not saying that you should do this, I'm just saying. So we've tried local housing allowance people. Typically, what we end up with lots of males over the sort of age between 25 and 35, staying at home all day, creating a lot of bother, kind of like the 3 kids he was talking about, you know. Not stereotyping people, but you know, there's that model. I suppose if you're a person that's kind of used to sort of being in the police or a prison guard or in the army, I kid you not, that is a great model because you're kind of used to that, right? Yeah. I've tried professional models with larger HMOs. I know there's a couple of guys in here that do this as well. All I've found there is that it's just my personal experience. They tend to be quite transient. Professionally, you can make your property as nice as you possibly want to, but really, if you think about it, a professional person, they can always get a 1-bedroom flat rather than actually have a room. So they're there for a reason. They serve a purpose for sure. They work. However, the tenants are very transient. If I'm making sense for you, yeah. The ones we like right now that work really well are mini-malls, as we're calling them.
Okay.
Properties where you've got 4 or less rooms, 4 or less people actually, in that property, and you can make money from them. What I love about these is that you can turn them back into a house at any time legislation changes, and also what you actually have to do to those HMOs in terms of changing fire doors and so on. It's so much easier. So maybe I don't know if you're like me, but I've just got fed up of difficult. What I've noticed is actually a choice. You can make the same amount of money, have an easier life, and still do things correctly. So to answer your question in a very long-winded way, one of the things in a household is to have less people, and also I would add to that related people. So related people meaning students, for example. Students are fantastic. Students are completely different to how we used to be. I don't know how we used to be. Yeah. But, right now, they want nice accommodation. They do look after the accommodation, and you're going to get a group of people that actually know each other. So,
Ash, you got anything to add to that about creating a good household?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Cam said. And what we do is, we're at the higher end of the market, so you create this amazing hotel-like situation where we have transient tenants, but they choose us over Airbnb, they choose us over a flat, and they come in and they get this amazing quality service, and they make new friends. I know one of the first houses we had, was German, Italian, Spanish, and they just got on so well, and you know, went out for dinners and all kinds of things and stayed friends. Then I saw pictures on Facebook that they were all at one of the other guys' weddings, and this is like 5-6 years down the line. So the proof for me is there. You know, when you see that kind of stuff, then you know that the money you spent and what you're doing is creating something that's bringing value to people's lives. The average tenancy that we have, I said transient, that's transient only in town, but if you put our house on the houses that are sort of outside the city centre, where we've created HMOs, tenants are staying there for 3 to 4 years. You know, that's crazy in an HMO, which we've noticed as well. So, yeah.
Gary, you had a question there. First hand, yeah.
Yeah, she mentioned about the 3 months that tenancy able to that immediate late. Assuming it's not on AST.
Yes, it is. So what we do is we people say, you know, you'll have a lot of people say, can we have a 3-month tenancy? Because a lot of, you know, they have small term contracts with the companies, especially in Manchester and some of the big cities. And what will happen is they'll say, look, I'll sign for 3, could be a year, could be 6, but I don't know. So we say, okay, fine. You sign a 6-month AST, but in the small print, there's a breakout clause of 3 months. They're happy, we're happy, everyone signs it.
There's a question down here, yeah.
So a couple of unrelated questions actually. So first, does your model sort of include service accommodation as HMO?
We're a hybrid. No, service accommodation is, to answer that question, is a lot more work. Not for you, you know, you can employ cleaners and whatever you and service people, but it's, you know, service accommodation, a tenant will come and say, I want the room for 4 nights. You've got to make the room ready, change the bed sheets when he leaves or she leaves, turn it around quickly. We don't do that. We rent per room on a 3-month or 6-month AST.
So you're not changing sheets like every
No.
week, even though you dress it initially?
No, that all comes out.
Okay.
Everything comes out.
Okay, it comes out, it's just window dressing.
Yeah.
Okay, and second question, unrelated, is there was the slide you showed with the breakdown, and it had the, I think, bricks and mortar, the traditional valuation and the commercial valuation. Can you just expatiate on the difference between those two and
Sure,
how you get
sure.
one and the
So,
other?
So just quick, did everyone get that question?
No.
So the lady was asking here about to expand on the bricks and mortar valuation that Ash was doing and the commercial valuation. So Ash, do you want to?
yeah. So when you've created all this, the HMO, and you call in the valuers, you might, you know, call a lender in like Kent Reliance, who do specially HMOs. So they'll come in, and if there's no comparables around the area, they will then give a bricks and mortar valuation on that property. So they'll say that house is worth 180, for example. You've put a new kitchen in, you've done some work, so I'll give you the extra money on that. That's what gets the 220, right? Which is still good, but it's not amazing. Then you have commercial valuations for people like Lloyd's. So if you go to Lloyd's Commercial and you go to them, they might come back to you and say, okay, you know what, I've seen your presentation, I've seen what the rent's coming in, I can see that you're a reputable company and you have experience behind you. I will give you a business or a commercial valuation on the property. So I've taken in what you've done, what your rents are, plus everything else around you, and they give you a product. It may be a repayment product based on that. It depends, and they give you a higher valuation. Each, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. So it can be one lender that gives you either one of those, or somewhere in the middle. But that's what you should be wary about. One lender will either give you just bricks and mortar, or the other lender might give you a little bit more.
Do you have anything to add on that?
Bricks and mortar valuations and income valuations, really important that we understand how you're actually going to evaluate, because depending on where you are in the area, where you are in the country, what we find is sometimes your bricks and mortar valuation can be higher than your income valuation. And also be aware that with income valuations there's this myth out there You know, where people like, you know, Ash and I, they don't have the experience, and they're saying to people that your income valuation will be 10 times. Trust me, it's not going to be 10 times. First of all, the valuer will question, why is this not just a house with rooms rented? Because the way they're treating it is a business. So as Ash is saying, very important that you treat it like a business, and it's seen and perceived as a business, because that's what it is. And your income valuations, you can write this down if you wish, save you some money. Your income valuations won't be 10, they will be 7 to 8 times your annual rental, depending on the lender, the surveyor, and where your property is. So this way, you can get a sanity check. In fact, Sushama's in the room. We were having the conversation today, weren't we, in your one-to-one? Right? Yeah, so Sushama's doing a nice large HMOs, and she's part of the Premier Property in Circle. We had a one-to-one on her business, and it's something we were discussing today, weren't we? On the on valuations, so that you can get the numbers right. Because the common mistake is people get the numbers wrong, and then unfortunately there's an unpleasant surprise when they come to actually revalue. So right now, clearly you guys are getting it right, you know, from right now, from wherever you are.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember the figures correctly on that slide, it was 180 purchase price, and was it 117 that you spent on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then if you got the bricks and mortar, that'd be 220. So that's obviously a high risk, because you then put a lot of money in there. So with that particular example, how do you protect yourself in terms of going for the commercial valuation?
So we are not brokers, right? That's not what we are. We don't advise. When we go to a client, and this is what you would have to do as well, you have to face the risk and value it. You know, what will happen at the bottom end? What will happen if I spend all that money? You know, I'll get all that rent, and I'll get this amazing 10-year, 20-year property that will go on for ages. But what happens if I go to value and I got the bottom end of it? Will I still be able to be stable? And with our developments, most of them, because of who we are and the background we get, we've never just had a plain valuer come in and go, I'm only going to give you bricks and mortar. They've looked at the business, they've looked at what we're delivering, and they've gone, yeah, you know what, you're not like the other operators, and that's why you're achieving these figures. So we'll give you a little bit extra. So when the investors look at what we outlay, they then go off and they look into their own. You know, they go and speak to Kent Reliance. What would you give me? What would be the bottom end? What would be the top? What if I did this? What if I did that? And then they're, you know, all of our investors till date have never got something that's below their expectation. Does that make sense? You know, they called me back and they said, the valuer has been in, and you know what, I wasn't really too pleased. I wanted a little bit more, but this is what I expected, because this was the bottom part of what I was expecting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a very valid point though. As you grow your business, as you have a cookie cutter model, let's call it, where you're using the same valuers. Typically in commercial, you're going to get the same type of value, the same firm, and there's usually not too many people in that firm that are going to come and value. So they do get to know you, you know. So if you're starting out, you know, of course, make your numbers right, and even if you're experienced, great. Of course, you always get your numbers right. However, you know, you will create these relationships, and when you're getting these commercial valuations, they are much more flexible. So yeah, so some valuer might give you 7. As they get to know you, they might give you 8. They might give you the benefit of the doubt, might give you 9. In my experience, I've never got 9, but you know, I'm not that good looking, so who knows?
And it does, and it's a good point. It depends on the valuer. You know, we've got one, and you know, we see him all the time now on all the valuations. He comes out, and he's a judge on some panel of some committee. He's a nice guy because we got to know. But we have the same conversation, and it's like, you know, he goes, yeah, but actually no one else does. Yeah, but I've spent all that money. You've got to give me a little bit extra. That's the kind of conversation we have now, and it's funny, but you know, that's what will happen.
Yeah, and you can have the conversation. With Kent Reliance on, there isn't a conversation, it's tick box. But with other commercial lenders, niche lenders, you can actually speak to them and say, well, what can you do? It's a little bit it's more flexible. It's a conversation around the parameters.
But you've got to show yourself being professional.
Yes, yes, of course.
You got a question?
I apologise, I didn't quite hear what you said when you said 7 or 8 times your annual rental. What was 7 or 8 times?
So if you're getting a income valuation,
Yeah.
so the property is being valued on the income rather than the bricks and mortar, as it's called, the property itself, then typically valuers will value it on 7 to 8 times of the gross income for the year. So let's say, just for easy numbers, let's say it's 100,000 is your rent. 100,000 rent. 10,000, let's say, is your rent. Let's say 10,000 is rent. Then it will be 7 times or 8 times that. So they'll value it at 70 or 80,000.
So you got a question?
The bricks and mortar valuation, is that the same as the structural valuation? When the surveyor goes in, that's the same thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so
if you're managing about 100 rooms or 150 rooms, do you have to go through the paperwork and process for each and every person staying in the room? Or?
what do you mean by paperwork? The contract says?
Yeah, documents, contract, like IDs and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, all day long. But, you know, technology, right? I remember the old days when my printer was just like, thank God for online, you know, the development of online signing and everything else. So everything really we do on email is kept on our database. All the tenants now, we don't do anything with paper. I haven't seen a paper document in ages.
Okay, just wanted to sort of touch on Article 4 before we sort of round off the questions. So with Article 4, obviously, many different areas that are affected by it. Are there any ways around Article 4 or ways to approach it that can mean you maximise certain areas? So, Cam, do you want to take that one first?
Article 4. So are we all clear what Article 4 actually is and what Article 4 is and how it actually impacts on HMOs? Yeah. Thing is, in this room, there's no silly question. Yeah, there's no ego. Everyone starts somewhere. Would you agree, guys? Yeah, we all start somewhere. And by the way, what Ash said earlier, kind of related. One of the reasons we get on is we're kind of on the same wavelength. Everyone's learning, myself included. And what I've noticed about learning is it's lifelong. It never ends. So there's always another level. Yes, you can bring people up, but there's always another level, isn't there? Yeah. So it's okay. So in this room at Premier Property, there ain't no silly questions. So feel free to ask. It's okay. Just want to make that clear. So are we all? Would you like a clarity around Article 4 for HMOs? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Go for it.
I laid it on you. I'll put it in a nutshell, right? Yeah. So Article 4 came about to stop the spread of HMOs. This is my breakdown of it in layman's terms, right? You had cities and councils and neighbours that started to say, I don't want to see any more HMOs in my area. How can we stop this? They petition their councillor, their MP, and the government comes up with Article 4. Article 4 is there to restrict the growth of HMOs in any one area, right? And they do it on a percentage basis where, in some cases you can't have there can't be more than 20% against what the housing stock is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But if you have an HMO in a place that doesn't have Article 4, and then gets Article 4 in place, then you are sitting on real gold, right?
Okay.
Remember that. And that's my version of Article 4.
Absolutely. So Article 4 is a common sense approach on what's going on. So if there's too much of something, the council is saying, well, there's too much of this, so we need to bring it back into a balance. That's what it is. And a couple of tips. So one of them actually, that exact one. So what we look for is areas where you've got Article 4 coming in. So here's some specifics with this. So have a look at areas around you where you've got Article 4 coming in over the next year. So they'll always let you know in advance. It's always available to you. Just check the council sites, planning policy available. Where is Article 4 coming in? So for example, right now in Redbridge, Article 4 is coming in one of our areas that we invest in. Redbridge is coming in 2020. We're in 2020, can you believe it? 2020 coming in, and we have that time frame to actually assess, find properties, create HMOs, And when it becomes Article 4, you've actually added value, haven't you?
Yeah.
So suddenly you've got demand for that because nobody else can create HMOs in that area, or actually they can try,
It's just harder.
they can apply for planning, but you ain't gonna get it. But you can apply for it. They're not gonna say you can't have it. You can apply for it, but they're not gonna give it to you, the council. So what you've done by doing this is you've done that. Yeah. Would you like another hack?
Yes.
Would you like a really cheeky
Yes.
hack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who'd like to get a HMO in an Article 4 no matter what?
Yeah.
No matter what the council says?
Yes.
According to the rules? Yes or no? Can't
Yes.
you?
Yes.
Yes.
It needs to be higher energy.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So what you can do now, this is very cheeky, however very legal. So you can actually have a HMO if you really want one in an Article 4 area. You have to look for specific types of stock. So if you look for a flat where it's a 1-bedroom flat with a large lounge area, or a 2-bedroom flat, what you can do within the terms of planning policy is you can convert that internally into having, now it varies from area to area, but typically if you can get 11.5 square meters for your communal and kitchen space, and keeping in mind you're only going to have a couple of people typically living in that place, think about it, so mini-mos, let's call them, but it's actually not a mini-mo or a HMO. What you've actually got is 1 bedroom. The other lounge can be repurposed as a bedroom, as long as it's got a window, or you can put a window in it. And you've got the 11.5 square meters as a communal and kitchen area. That's enough for 2 people, isn't it? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Now that is not a HMO. This is a shared flat. So a shared flat does not fall under HMOs. In fact, we're creating, so we do typically 10 to 17 projects on a monthly basis. We do have varying strategies. I train people on this, you know this. However, we are very focused. I mean, it hasn't happened overnight. 29 years in the making, and we're still working on it. So, this is a strategy we're actually doing in the Midlands. So we've got a commercial property with a flat above. The commercial property we're actually converting into 2 1-bedrooms, and there's already a 1-bedroom upstairs. So we're going to create both of, well, the one that's already existing, we're going to do exactly this. We're going to create into a flat share, and the 2 downstairs that we're creating after they're created are also going to be flat shares. We've already assessed the room spaces, so no one can say anything because you're doing everything legally and correctly. This is in a student area. Literally, the university is walking distance, so just bottom of the road, which means that you can actually rent those out to students, can't you? Now, your uplift in that is going to be 30% plus on your income. So you can do quirky things like this. Guys, you've gone very quiet. Have I explained that correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
You'd have individual ASTs, obviously, for each person.
Yes, you can have individual AST. That's absolutely fine. You could even have an AST which is on a multi-let AST.
Yeah.
So you could have that. However, no one can actually say that's a HMO because what that is actually a genuine flat share. However, you're multi-letting, aren't you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Legally.
And if you're enjoying this kind of information and you want to add more tools to your toolbox, I'd highly recommend spending a day with us at Parent Property, and Cam is going to give you so much more information on our Property Investor Success Day. We've got those 2 dates, the 1st of June and the 8th of June. Pat will happily sign you up to one of those days, and you can get a whole day really expanding your knowledge. HMOs, rent to rent, even service accommodation as well. Many things that we've just covered this evening. So welcome to join us. So I think we had a final question. Vikash, go on, you were the fastest there.
You talked about getting higher rents, and I've noticed that quite a lot of people are trying to present HMO really well.
Yeah.
Do you find most of your tenants come from spare room, or is there any other kind of tenant source that you find work really well?
So predominantly they do come from spare room. Spare room have cornered the market. They're like the Facebook of the property scene when it comes to rooms. I think they've just taken over another company, and so the majority come from there, but it can get congested because there's so many operators there as well. Another place you can go to is Open Rent. Open Rent, if you sign up on Open Rent, then get access to Rightmove, Zoopla, Gumtree, and a few other places. I actually asked them because they advertise you get over 100 places. So I called them up and said, "What's the other 100?" And she just started blabbing, trying to palm it off. So we don't know what the other 100 are, but we definitely know Gumtree, Rightmove, Zoopla, and one other one, which is great because you have some people, a lot of people I would say, haven't heard of Spare Room, and their immediate call is to go on Rightmove, and then they find your property and get there, and then build your own website. And quality of product leads to word of mouth. Our strongest game is word of mouth. We got people going back to India, Germany, New Zealand, telling somebody there, their friend, their colleague. Next minute I get a call, I don't even know, and they mention the previous person's name. And this could be 2 years later, and I have to sort of jog the memory or look in the phone and say, who the hell is he talking about? And then I realise, oh wow, So those are the key ones.
And then managing it all, do you build your own CRM system or do you use one?
No, we built our own. We tried one. It's a great question, by the way. We tried, what's it called? Arthur.
Yeah.
Everyone heard of Arthur? Yeah. It's quite good. Yeah. It's a software that will enable you to manage your investment and your tenants and everything else. Really nice. Software is growing, but we trialed it. We spent like £4,000 on Arthur. The problem with Arthur for us, because we had to answer to our investors. So there's the whole tenant thing, which is great, but then there's the financial outlay and what the returns are, and to deliver that to the investor with a statement at the end. The time it took Arthur to do that, it took us 3 seconds on Excel. It took Arthur like a minute, and once you time that up with the time you have, we gave Arthur back. And so Excel spreadsheets. I am about to spend a huge amount of money on developing our own system through our website. So it'll be a one-stop portal, and that's where you got to look. Once you start making the money, everything has to go into technology.
Cameron, you got something to add about that management side?
Well, would you like another one? That's really cost effective. You can do very easily. Start now and just get it done. Would you like one?
Yeah.
Well, why are you anything? Because you're dealing with everything.
We use Asana for a lot of our.
Oh yeah, very good.
Yeah, Asana and the other one. What are you looking at?
Gone blank. Landlord Vision.
There you go. That's very good. Next user. Don't ask him how many letting agencies he's managing.
Asana's great.
Well, I think a big round of applause for the guys here. So,
I was just going to say, if you haven't joined HMO, the HMO group, then feel free to join it. I'm in it as well. It is a very good group for HMOs. Really good for so I'd recommend it if you haven't joined it.
Thank you.
Right, well, I'm just going to wrap up the evening. So, guys, if you want to make your way over to the back, and obviously they'll take your questions personally, but just got a few slides to finish off the evening. So another big round of applause for them.
Slide you had before, could you just put that on again?
Yeah,
Yes.
like that.
Yeah. So as you see, we bring the industry experts and the people leading their field